Hello everyone, Battalion Magic here, and today I'm going to be opening this pack of Khans of Tarkir to analyze a pack 1, pick 1 draft choice. We'll talk about the pack a little bit beyond that as well. If there's like a really awesome rare or whatnot, then we can talk about what a second pick might be if you receive the pack with that card removed. I'd also like to point out that I have a new playmat. I like to sort of vary the background on the videos, and I went to a Khans Game Day tournament at one of the stores that I frequent, and playing not exactly just like a card for card copied off of the internet list, but using the now popular Jeskai Wins or Jeskai Aggro archetype as a foundation for the deck that I played. That, I had Jeskai Charms and Stoke the Flames and Mantis Riders and Goblin Rabble Masters, that kind of deck, and it was a lot of fun. I played against a very interesting kind of not expected white-red sort of control-ish deck with Chain to the Rocks and Fated Conflagration and Banishing Light in the finals, and in a quite close and really amazingly tight, well-played Game 3, I won the tournament, and thus this map. So let's crack this pack. So okay, so we've got Glacial Stalker, and we've got Canyon Lurkers. I'm just going to lay the cards out here. We've got Salt Road Patrol. I like the first two. I mean, actually, Debilitating Injury. I like Sagu Archer, Force Away, Windscarred Crag, Bring Low, Snowhorn Rider, and Siegecraft. So those are the commons. Uncommons, we have Brave the Sands, we have Incremental Growth, Monastery Swift Spear, sweet, and a Hooded Hydra, Mythic. I saw the M and I got a little excited. Not that this is a bad card, not one of the mythics that I'm particularly looking for at the moment, but I do think this potentially makes this draft pick kind of easy. Although I'll go over some of what my thought process would be when looking at this pack, though I think it's likely that I would pick the Hydra. Alright, so we can put the land and the token off to the side. So, that's a tripod. So, yeah, I think... I guess we'll talk about both the first pick and a second pick out of this pack, because although I do like some of the other cards in this pack, I don't think I would pass the Hooded Hydra. I mean, it fits so well. So I've heard people talk about the sort of 5-color morph deck that one can draft in this format. And that, a couple of the people I've talked to who like drafting that deck try to sort of be base Sultai with splashes of red and white for some of the morphs like Snowhorn Rider and whatnot. And, if you go for that kind of thing, just morphs in general are obviously what that deck wants to do. If you can pick up a Secret Plans or like even a Trail of Mystery, although that's a rare. So like this is a morph creature. But the thing I like about it primarily is that it's very flexible and it's a single colored card. So you could first pick a Hooded Hydra, and even if you aren't going, all in on that 5-color morph plan, Hooded Hydra can beautifully go in an Abzan deck, because if you just hard cast it and pay X or flip it up for its morph cost, it will have +1/+1 counters on it, thereby gaining benefits if you have creatures like Abzan Falconer or Abzan Battle Priest on the battlefield. The creatures, like that give other creatures, or not other, just creatures you control with +1/+1 counters an ability like flying or lifelink. This is a creature that you don't have to even work to put into that state. Like, if you say let's pick another creature from this pack, like a Sagu Archer and an Abzan Battle Priest, in play? Well, if you cast incremental growth, then obviously all the creatures that receive the counters from the incremental growth will gain lifelink. But in the case of the Hooded Hydra, it'll have the +1/+1 counters on it just by being cast or by being flipped up. Because in a teamer deck, it will usually trigger Ferocious, because I'm not sure, like, if you draw it late game and you just cast it for, say, 6 or 7, then it's going to be like a 4/4 or a 5/5. If you play it on curve as a face-down creature on 3, then you can flip it up a couple turns later if it's still alive and, you know, get a 5/5 that leaves behind creatures when it dies. So, like, I think typically if you have this in your opening hand, or if you draw this over the first couple turns, you'll want to play it face down, because you'll get, you know, a 2/2 for 3 on turn 3 and then a 5/5 for 5 on turn 5, as opposed to, you know, let's say on turn 5 you want to hard cast this for green X. Well, then you're paying green 3 and you get a 3/3. So generally I think you'll want to play it face down and then flip it. However, you can just, you know, it's a good draw late in the game, because when you have that mana on the battlefield to make it a 4/4, 5/5, 6/6, whatever, you know, if you top deck it, then it's something that you can just hard cast and still get a lot of value out of it. It'll be a big creature, and then if it dies, you'll get a bunch of snakes. And like I said, that usually means that in its face up form, it will be triggering Ferocious. Like I said about Abzan, with the counters on it, it will receive benefits from your quote-unquote Outlast Lords. In Sultai, it's, you know, just a value creature, being able to potentially have a 5/5 for 5 on turn 5 that will then turn into other creatures if it dies to anything but like exile. You know, I mean, obviously if it gets utter-ended, that's one thing, but that's a rare. Like, if this is killed with an Arrow Storm, or if this is killed with, what's it called? A Rite of the Serpent, or a Murderous Cut, like, you will get the snakes that it leaves behind when it dies, which is kind of what Sultai, you know, Sultai, sort of the straight up, just 3-color Sultai deck. What I've seen out of that deck is that it wants to gain long-term value by leveraging card draw and card selection and delve and you know, being able to loot with things like the Abomination, the 3/4 flyer morph creature. But then also on top of that, it wants to potentially go for a long game, and that means that there are times where you're going to need blockers. And like, if the Hydra blocks and dies, if they use a combat trick to pump something up to kill it, it's going to leave behind a bunch of potential blockers that can either gang block something or just chump block stuff. So I really think this fits into a bunch of, I mean, I really can't think of, except for, I guess, Mardu, like, I can't think of too many decks that I would cut this from. And the thing is, even though it costs double green to hardcast or to flip up, it can still just be a 2/2 for 3. So you could even, if you have enough, like, let's say you are playing Mardu and you have a couple of the red-green or the black-green refuge lands. If you have basically free mana fixing, for example, you know, even barring the refuges, if you have, for example, you're playing Mardu, right, and you have like something like, maybe not Mardu, let's see, what's a good example? So, okay, hypothetically, let's say you're playing Jeskai, right, and you are playing blue, red, white. Well, you know, if you have a couple of the Frontier Bivouac, the Teamer Tri-land, uncommon land, you could play that as essentially a free green source, because you're still getting 2 of your primary colors out of your, you know, clan's color grouping out of that land. But, so I guess a good example of this is, like, at the first pre-release that I attended, I played an Abzan deck, but I had a couple of lands that produced 1 or 2 of my colors and red. So, like, I had Nomad Outpost. It produced white and black, but also red. So I included Ash Cloud Phoenix in my deck because I thought, at worst, it's going to be a 2/2 for 3. I can play it face down. It's never going to just be a dead card in my hand. Best case scenario, though, I actually get to use these free splashes, essentially, to flip the card up, and I have a powerful threat. So that's something that you potentially could do in this format with the Hydra. The double cost is, something that would prohibit me from even considering this if it didn't also have Morph, because with Morph, it's never going to be purely stuck as a dead card in your hand that you can't do anything with. So I think out of this pack, I've talked about this card for long enough, I would take the Hooded Hydra. That being said, let's say that this is the pack that we received second, and I don't know what we're going to be first picking, but let's say we've picked something already, and the person who passes us this pack has already picked the Hooded Hydra. What would I take now? Well, Debilitating Injury is one of, if not the best common in the set, but it's definitely one of the best commons, for many reasons, but primarily I think because it kills morphs. It costs less than it will cost for your opponent to play their face down creature, and it will just boom. I mean, it's not instant speed. You have to play it on your turn on your main phase or one of your main phases, but it will get morphs before they can flip up. I do like, I like Snowhorn Rider, I like Bring Low. I don't know if I'd be first picking one of these guys. I think that a lot of people are not picking the common clan-colored morph creatures like Snowhorn Rider and the previously mentioned Abomination of Gudul early. So that's not something you need to pick early in the pack. And I think it would be like, there are certain tricolor cards that I would consider first picking, like Sidisi or a Siege Rhino or something. But I don't think I would first pick Snowhorn Rider, primarily because it's a common. So I know that later on in the draft, if I'm more established in that color combination, I am likely to see one. Out of the uncommons here, I think Incremental Growth is really powerful and has a lot of upside, and I've certainly used it to great effect in this format thus far. But I do think that it's good in a variety of decks, but it's specifically good in an Abzan deck with creatures that can take advantage of the +1/+1 counters. And because of that, I've noticed that it doesn't necessarily get picked as early as I'd expect. So I'm not sure that I'm going to take that here either. There are times where it's been too slow. I've had it stuck in my hand. This is a slower format than, say, Theros Block Draft on average, but I have found that there are times where Incremental Growth is either just stuck in my hand because my creatures have been removed, killed, and I'd rather have another creature, or where Incremental Growth is kind of not how I want to be using my mana. It's a good sort of late game play once you've established your forces and you need something to break through. I think, like, in parity, it shines. It's an amazing card if you're at parity with your opponent, and it slams the door if you're ahead. But if you're behind, you likely won't have 3 creatures on the board. So I don't think this wins you a game or gets you back into a game where you're behind. And when you're developing, it's kind of maybe the top of a great curve out where you go 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop, boom, Incremental Growth. But those draws aren't going to just be consistent unless your deck is really built with a super smooth curve. And even then, that's not a foregone conclusion. But I do think the card has a lot of upside. And although I really like Monastery Swift Spear for Constructed, Monastery Swift Spear has been seeing play in Mono Red Aggro. It's been seeing play in Modern in Blue Red Delver. It's been seeing play in Legacy in Blue Red Delver. In fact, it was in the winning list of a Star City Games Open Legacy tournament that was really sweet with both Treasure Cruise and Monastery Swift Spear. I believe that deck took down that tournament. It was the first Star City Games Legacy Open after the release of Khans. So while I really do like the card, I think its applications are much more constructed based. It's a card that can take advantage of a deck with a lot of instants and sorceries. Like, the Blue-Red Delver deck has Gitaxian Probe and Treasure Cruise and Serum Visions and Lightning Bolt, and in Standard it's in a deck with Dragon Mantle and Titan Strength and Stoke the Flames. So I don't think it's a card that I want to first pick. A, because I'm not entirely sure that all-out aggro decks are where you want to be in this format, but even if you manage to draft like the sweetest red-black aggro deck that you can, that's going to just consistently outrace your opponents, I don't know how many instants and sorceries or non-creature spells you're going to have in your deck, and because of that, how often is this really going to be anything more than, a hasty 1 damage? I don't know, I think it's not something that seems super solid to take first, so I don't know. Out of this pack, if the Hooded Hydra were gone, I think it's tough. Like, I like all 3 of these red cards. Bring Low is the type of removal that we get generally nowadays at common. It's not super efficient, but it can definitely scale with Abzan creatures or with the various effects that add +1/+1 counters to creatures in this format, like Feat of Resistance or Dragon Scale Boon or Incremental Growth. And I like that Canyon Lurkers can be turned up the turn after you play it face down for a huge point of, a huge hit if they don't block it. I think, though, after Hooded Hydra, I'm probably going with the safe pick and taking Debilitating Injury. It can go in Abzan, Sultai, or Mardu, all of which are clans that I either have enjoyed or look like I will enjoy drafting in this format. And I think that it's just sort of the most well-positioned and for this format, and the card that I think is the safest pick 2 if the Hydra is already out of the pack. And if I had received this pack with the Hydra and taken the Hydra, and then for pick 2 received, let's just say the same pack minus the Hydra, I think I'd take the Debilitating Injury because, like I said, I like Sultai, I like Abzan. I can go in either direction with a green and a black card, and so I think my first pick out of this pack would be Hooded Hydra. My second pick out of this pack would be Debilitating Injury, and after that there's, I might go with Incremental Growth, especially if I first picked these, Hydra, and second picked the Injury, but I think there's an argument to be made potentially for a red card or the Snowhorn Rider as our third pick. So I think these 2 would be my first 2 picks, but I could see, this, or this, or this, potentially even this, but I could see these guys, and I think the Stalker is well positioned in this format too, but personally I think blue is a support color. I found that blue is in this limited format a color that I want to use to support my primary 2 colors if I'm going with a 3-color deck, and I think that out of this pack I would then third pick one of these, and in some ways it would depend on what my first 2 picks were to some extent. So please let me know in the comments below what you think of this pack and what you would do if faced with this decision. I enjoy discussing draft pick analysis. These kind of analyses are fun for me to do, so I hope that you've enjoyed this, and I would like to do more of these in the future, so if you like this, don't hesitate to chime in with your opinions. So thank you for watching. This is Metallian Magic, signing out.